Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May God's peace, mercy, and blessing be upon you all. We are going to go ahead and get started. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is Sabina Moyedin. I'm the Executive Director of the American Muslim Advisory Council. In today's webinar, we're going to talk about the COVID vaccine and everything you need to know. And it is our pleasure today to have some of our resident our Tennessean experts in the community to join us. And so what we like to do is get started with a small prayer. And if Imam Allah is here, he is the new Imam for the Islamic Center of Murfreesboro. Let's start with a prayer.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Barakallah fikum. It's really my honor to be with you tonight, and inshallah I will just start right away with the dua inshallah. يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. اللهم لك الحمد لا يحمد على مكروه سواك. اللهم لك الحمد لا يكشف الضر إلاك. اللهم ادفع الوباء والبلاء عن خلقك أجمعين. اللهم ادفع الوباء والبلاء عن خلقك أجمعين. اللهم ادفع الوباء والبلاء عن خلقك أجمعين. اللهم قد أريتنا قوتك فأرنا رحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم قد أريتنا قوتك فأرنا رحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم قد أريتنا قوتك فأرنا رحمتك أنت الرحمن وأنت الرحيم. اللهم إنا يا أرحم الراحمين نلوذ بقوتك، نلوذ برحمتك، نلوذ بفضلك يا ذا الفضل العظيم. اللهم ادفع الوباء والبلاء عن الناس أجمعين يا أرحم الراحمين ويا أكرم الأكرمين. نحن الضعفاء فقونا، نحن المساكين فاجبرنا يا أكرم الأكرمين. Oh Allah, we have seen your power, so show us your mercy, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Oh Allah, we have seen your power, so show us your mercy and your generosity, Ya Akram al-Akramin. Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Jazakumullah khair. Thank you for that dua. And now we're going to start with Dr. Abu Halima, who's a cardiologist at Vanderbilt University Medical Center and is chair of the Muslim Physicians of Middle Tennessee.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair, Sister Sabina, for putting this together, which is really wonderful. I want actually to also welcome and thank my wonderful brother, Ahmad Omar from Memphis. Thank you for joining us. We as we say in Arabic, la yufta wa malikum fil Medina, we cannot make fatwa when Malik is in Medina. So this is his area of expertise, and he knows definitely much better than all of us. But thank you for your time, and I'm sure it is extremely busy time for you in Memphis for everything is going on. Thank you for coming to us. I would like to say thank you also to my beloved brother Sheikh Osama Bahlul, which I enjoy seeing him all the time, and of course, Sheikh Ala Ahmed, our new Imam at ICM. So briefly, Brother Imad, just to give everybody the background of what's going on, we've been monitoring this since the start of the pandemic in Middle Tennessee area and Davidson County, Rutherford County, and Williamson County, which has been one of the greatest problems we've been having with this disease among any pandemic we've ever seen in my life personally. We went through up and down. At the beginning, we thought that we are the highest level of the problem, but obviously it became a bigger problem later on. And we've been going through these surges up and down. As we did in Middle Tennessee area and also in Memphis, I'm sure, and I know that you did the same by opening the messages and closing the messages, because protecting our community is the first responsibility for all of us. So I'm going to just, if I can share my screen, Sister Sabina.
Yes, you can share your screen.
Thank you. So this, the screen I'm going to share, which is, I'm sure is familiar for Dr. Omar. So, and for everybody, this is from Tennessee.gov, and if you can scroll and you can find this information it's available for everybody. You can look at today's cases and you can see the number of cases in the state of Tennessee is really high. The number of deaths is really high. one life lost is too much, obviously. These are the number of tests that have been performed. Very high number of tests. Now, if you go to individual counties, let me just share Davidson County, for example, and Rutherford, we can share that too. To load. So this is Davidson County. This is all cases, 70,000, almost 700 deaths and active cases. If you look at these curves and look at the up and down we've been going through, it's really huge. Unfortunately, it is not a secret that a few weeks ago before Christmas, state of Tennessee was ground zero for COVID-19. Then, thank God, we became number 2 after California now. But, unfortunately, and we see the surge is happening. It happened after Thanksgiving, and it's happening now after the Christmas and New Year's holidays. You see these massive surges. Unfortunately, the culture of Tennesseans, they do not like to wear masks, a lot of them, for whatever reason, whether they think it's conspiracy theory or the constitutional right not to wear masks, which is all of this is not right, obviously. But because of all of this, we are where we are right now, and the place we are now. Is this is going to get better? Inshallah, I hope, I pray to Allah Ta'ala to get better. How long or how soon it will get better? Well, as you know, when we putting our hopes in the vaccine, and we're still putting our hopes in the vaccine, the distribution was not as expected initially. This is going to get better with the new administration next week, inshallah, I think. And Dr. AMAC can also chip in also with his opinion about this. I think by March, when we can have a good sector of the community vaccinated, whether based on your work, whether your age, or God forbid, based on the medical conditions you have. When we have a lot of this sector of our community vaccinated, I think we will be in a better shape. This is, for example, from Rutherford County, and look at this. This is a small county compared to Davidson. The numbers are high, and the curves is going up and down, obviously. So I'm hoping that, inshallah, by March, that numbers will be getting more stable. I'm hoping that by summertime, we have this under control because of more education to our people and more education to our community, and of course, vaccination. And vaccine, as Brother Omar is going to talk to everybody, is not going to be the ultimate protection. It is part of the process, but it is not that you got vaccinated, you're good, because you can transmit disease to everybody else, even if you don't have the disease. That being said, it is very important to our Muslim community to understand the importance of getting vaccinated, as much as understanding the importance of being cautious with the disease itself. We wanted to lead by example. As we mentioned, in our Muslim Physician of Middle Tennessee, we got vaccinated, and we wanted to share this information with all of our massages and all of our community members that if you like to call us your testing samples, here we go. We got vaccinated. I got myself and the rest of the members of the committee. We got Pfizer vaccines, which was the available one. Pfizer or Moderna does not make a difference. Personally, after my first dose of the vaccine, I had some just soreness in my arm. After the second dose of the vaccine, which everybody says that second dose has more side effects. Personally, alhamdulillah, I got some runny nose only for less than a day and went away, did not have any fever or joint pains or anything. I'm not saying that other people would not have that, but they can have that. But I promise you, this is nothing compared to having Corona. May Allah protect you. So even if you wanted to have us as your testing samples, which we're glad to do that, and that's why the physician committee shared this information publicly, that we are leading by example. We got vaccinated, and alhamdulillah, we're fine. And definitely, we want to educate our people about the importance of our vaccine, importance of taking the vaccine, and we're open for any question and any concern they have. I'm not going to take much of the time. I'm going to leave this to Dr. Imad Omar, which is, again, you know, you cannot make fatwa when Malik is in Medina. You cannot make fatwa when somebody has definitely more expertise in that area. And after that, I'm available, obviously, for any question, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you, Dr. Abu Halima. So next we have Dr. Imad Omar. He's an infectious disease specialist in Memphis. He's assistant professor of medical education at the College of Medicine at UT Health Science Center. So he'll be talking about the vaccines. Go ahead. Thank you for joining us here today, Dr. Omar.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you for having me. I just realized that, mashallah, it's a very ambitious title that you have given this COVID-19 vaccine, everything you wanted to know. I'm hoping one day, inshallah, there'll be some topic that I know everything I wanted to know. But hopefully I'll be able to give some information about the pandemic and mostly about the vaccine, and then hopefully there'll be some questions. I know there's a number of other experts in the audience. I can see Dr. Muhammad Zaman. Assalamu alaikum. He's a pulmonary critical care and an expert and sees many patients every day with this, and other physicians as well. I see Dr. Adnan Nasir. So, assalamu alaikum. If it's okay, I'm just going to share my screen and have a few slides. Okay, so throughout the talk, I may say COVID-19, which is the illness, and I might say SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus. And that's what we're going to talk about. Alhamdulillah, Dr. Abu Halima has given you an idea of the gravity of the situation in Tennessee and around the country, but I just want to talk about why we actually need a vaccine. We need a vaccine because this is a pandemic like we've not seen in our lifetimes, and since 1918, we've never had anything like this. More than 90 million cases worldwide, more than 2 million deaths. In the United States, we've had 24 million cases and more than 400,000 deaths now due to COVID-19. And there are 125,000 people currently in the hospital in the United States from this illness. So that's why we need a vaccine. And as the point was made earlier, the vaccine is important, but unfortunately we have reached the point where the vaccine itself is not going to be enough. So we're going to need to continue to do all the other things to socially distance and wear masks for a time. And inshallah, all these things together will help us to get our lives back to normal. So just an idea of how bad things are. This is the nationwide metrics as of yesterday. And the 7-day average of deaths in the United States is 3,285 deaths per day. That means that if I talk for the next 10 or 12 minutes, 27 people will have died by the time I finish this talk. That's very sobering. This is why we need a vaccine. Some people have said that the SARS, the COVID is like the flu. Down here you see in the yellow, these are the deaths from influenza over the years, 2017, 2018, 2019. These are the deaths from COVID. So it's much, much worse than the flu and unlike anything we've ever seen. So there's lots of different vaccines being developed, and I'm going to talk mostly about 2 of them, but we can discuss other things. Because of the sheer scope of this illness, a lot of different vaccine candidates have been developed, and there are lots of different kinds. I won't get into it. Mostly what we're going to talk today about is the RNA, the mRNA vaccines. There's a DNA-based vaccine that is going to soon be available, and another protein-based one that is undergoing phase 3 trials. But there are 44 of those, and there are 20 that are based on RNA. So lots of different companies, industry, government are working on this. And that is why the COVID-19 vaccines are able to be made so quickly, because normally the process to make a vaccine takes many years. And so many people were skeptical about vaccines because these COVID vaccines, because they happened so quickly. So how did that happen? Well, one thing that's happened, and you've seen this in your lifetimes, that technology moves very fast. And so, alhamdulillah, our ability, our technology has improved. But the idea for these two vaccines, the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine, is not new. There were other vaccines based on that idea being studied. And when this occurred, the COVID-19, the pandemic, there was some unique things that happened. One, there were many governments, many industries, all sort of marshaling efforts. So with lots of money. So whereas other vaccines might have limited resources, there were virtually unlimited resources for development of these vaccines. Billions of dollars were poured into vaccine development, both privately and publicly. And lots of people were marshaled to do this as well. So people working around the clock. So instead of tens of people, there were many thousands of people working on individual vaccines. So these things happen quickly. Also, the governments relaxed the regulatory requirements in terms of the time it takes for them because they gave it high priority. And the vaccines were done in the way they are always done with phase 1 and 2 and phase 3 trials. And they were very transparent about how they did it, particularly these two vaccines, the Moderna vaccine and the Pfizer vaccine. And their reports are publicly available for you to read if you'd like to read them. But the science was not, there were no shortcuts. But it is remarkable how quickly it was done, no question. Traditional vaccines sometimes are slower. This is from the Vanderbilt, actually, vaccine research program. They're slower and more difficult because there's a protein. These vaccines that we're going to discuss today are mRNA vaccines. mRNA vaccines are different, and they're kind of a new technology, although we've been working on them for many years. And the original SARS-CoV-1 in 2003, that was something that they were looking to make an mRNA vaccine against. So when this happened and the genetic code for the spike protein was published very early by the Chinese, then an mRNA vaccine was in development already within about a month of that time. And mRNA, what it is, it's kind of like a recipe. If I come over to your house and I bring you a bunch of groceries and I say you need to fix something, that's one thing. But I can also just give you the recipe, and that's what the mRNA is. It's a recipe for your body to make the spike protein. And it's much faster because these mRNA molecules are much easier to produce. The problem is that they are very delicate, and so lots of different things are needed to keep them stable. The star of the show is this coronavirus, so named because it looks like a crown. It has these spikes on it, and the spikes are the thing against which the body makes antibodies to develop immunity. The virus has some genetic material, and it has actually 25 proteins. One of those is the spike protein, or it's a gene. It has 25 genes, and one of them is the spike protein gene. And these two vaccines, the Moderna and the Pfizer, this is a diagram of the Pfizer vaccine, but they're both very similar. They have this mRNA inside a lipid kind of layer, and it gets inside the cell. And the mRNA uses the body's sort of machinery to then make a protein. And these proteins assemble and form a spike, which is then put on the surface of the cell, and the body's able to recognize it and then attack it. This does not change anything inside the DNA. There was some rumors, some misinformation that this virus has changed the DNA. The DNA is inside the nucleus. It doesn't get in the nucleus, can't do that, can't change it. And even if it got in there, it doesn't have the machinery to change anything. Also, it is important to know that this is not the virus. It is just mRNA. And so this cannot cause a person to get COVID. What's in it? What's in the vaccine? So these are the two ones that have been given so far, the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine. And basically on the left-hand side, you'll see what's in them: mRNA, lipids, salts, sugars, and buffers. That's basically what's in there. We do know that some people have had reactions, and we're going to talk about that later. It may be related to some of the lipids in there, the polyethylene glycol component. That incidentally is in lots of medications, but there may be other reasons why it can cause rare problems with these vaccines. So how safe are they? There are two basic kinds of side effects. This vaccine this is actually the Moderna vaccine, and it causes local reactions. So 84% of vaccine recipients had a local reaction. That means their arm was sore. And only about 20% of the people that got the salt water. In terms of the other side effects, feeling tired, having a headache, having low-grade fever, there were a number of people that had that. This is after the second dose. So those things occur. Generally, they were mild. There were very few people that had any serious side effects. And in the trial, there were no serious side effects for the over 30,000 people that were involved. But we're going to get to some of those other side effects in just a minute. How effective are they? Well, there's these vaccines, the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine are said to be 90 to 95% effective. And that is very impressive. It's not unprecedented. The measles vaccine is about 97%. Flu vaccines are not as good. They tend to be much less than that, more on the order of 60% for a good vaccine. And there are some other ones coming down the road that may have some similar effectiveness. We don't know yet about the Oxford vaccine, the AstraZeneca one yet. It may be 70%. So in the trial, this was quite impressive. The Pfizer vaccine, after they received 2 doses, 8 people developed COVID-19, whereas in the placebo group, over 160 developed the illness. And same for the Moderna, 11 people developed COVID-19 in the vaccine group and 185 in the placebo group. So these vaccines were very effective in preventing the illness, COVID-19. One of the big problems was this idea of anaphylaxis. And so there were a couple of patients in the UK, and then subsequently there were reports of people that developed serious allergic reactions in the United States. Interestingly, there were 21 of those, 19 of them were women. We don't really understand why that is. One thing is that about 64% of vaccine recipients were women. But if you look at the breakdown of these 21 people, they had, the vast majority of them had a documented history of allergies or allergic reactions. And this is not just minor allergies, these are serious allergies. These are people that had had anaphylaxis before, people that carried EpiPens because they had allergies to either food or medications. And so this is based on about 1.9 million doses. So about 1 in 100,000 have had this kind of reaction. But as I said, these are people that have a history of allergy. So that is now a consideration for people if they've had serious allergies, not your run-of-the-mill kind of allergy, serious allergies like anaphylaxis, where you have trouble breathing and hives, then that's a caution for the vaccines. This is just talks about how the vaccines differ. They're very similar, but the Pfizer vaccine requires extremely cold temperatures. And so that affects how it can be distributed. The Moderna also requires cool temperatures, but can be more readily distributed through regular refrigeration once a vial is opened. The other thing is that the Pfizer vaccine has to be diluted. That's not unusual. Many vaccines are like that, but that one does as well. They studied it in people 16 years old and older. The Moderna is for 18 years old and older. So you have to make sure that you're getting the right vaccine depending on your age. We're going to talk more about the side effects, but basically pain at the injection site, tiredness, headache, muscle pain, chills, joint pain, sometimes fever. There's this question of Bell's palsy. There were 4 people with the Pfizer vaccine that developed Bell's palsy. It is less than the number of people that normally would develop that in the course of the period that these people were being followed. And 2 of the patients developed it much later, one at 37 days, I think the other one at 48 days after the vaccine. So it may not have been related and likely wasn't. Both of these are 2 shots. The Pfizer vaccine is 21 days for it to be effective. The Moderna is 28 days. Interestingly, there were a fair number of people that appeared to have immunity after the first shot for the Moderna vaccine. So these are all these questions. We talked a little bit about Bell's palsy. I'm just briefly going to touch on these, and then if people have questions at the end, we can address this. So pregnancy, there were some rumors out there that the vaccine could cause miscarriage. And the reason that that was a concern was that there's some similarity between the spike protein and a protein in the female uterus, in the placenta rather. And so there was concern that there might be miscarriages, but that has not turned out to be the case. They're actually not that close in terms of their structure. And if this were true, then we would expect that the virus itself would cause a great number of miscarriages, and that has not been the case. What about the elderly? Well, the elderly are at high risk of this. And so patients that are 65 and older are the majority of people in the hospital, and many of the deaths that occur are in this age group. And the mortality beyond that increases with every decade, it doubles. So very high mortality in people that are 80 years and above. What about people with autoimmune diseases and people that are immunocompromised? Can they get the vaccine? Yes, this is not a live virus vaccine. So if you have some disease, you certainly can get the vaccine. The only question that comes up is that in very immunocompromised people, will they have a good response to the vaccine? And we don't know that for sure. Children are being studied, but they are going to be, the approval for them is going to come later. Those studies are ongoing for a number of the vaccines. I told you the ages for the Pfizer was down to 16 and for the Moderna was 18. What about if you've already had COVID-19? Should you get the vaccine? Well, we do know that if you have the illness, you have immunity for a while. The immunity can last, we don't know for sure how long, but we're fairly confident that it's at least 3 months, and it may be longer than that, as long as 6 months. But there's no reason not to get the vaccine. The only recommendation is that if you are under quarantine, obviously you don't want to be going and getting the vaccine at that time. And it would be perfectly safe for you not to get it for 90 days. So those are just some of the questions. I'm sure that there'll be more. So I'll just stop there because I find that people have a lot of questions and we can maybe elaborate on them later. I'll just make one other point, and that was the point that I started with, that yes, we should all get vaccinated. The more of us that get vaccinated, the more likely we will be to control this virus. But it's kind of like having a fire hose. You know, a fire hose is very good at putting out a fire, right? So if your kitchen catches on fire and you have a fire hose, that's a wonderful thing. But if your entire house is on fire, the fire hose may not be effective. If your entire neighborhood is burning, the fire hose may not be effective. And the virus in our country right now is analogous to our entire neighborhood being on fire. So we need to do everything we can, not just the vaccine, but all the other precautions we need to take as well. So I'll just stop there and turn it back over to Sister Sabina.
Thank you for that great presentation. And there are a lot of questions that have come in, but I'm going to go over my part, and then Sheikh Osama will go over his part, and then we'll go to the questions, inshallah. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I'm going to talk about who can get vaccinated, where you can get vaccinated, and more resources about the vaccine. Because I've heard a lot of questions, and I'm sure all of you are watching the news every night, and there's a lot of information, and it can be confusing. But first thing you need to know that the vaccine is being rolled out in phases, and Tennessee is basically following the CDC guidelines. But Tennessean Department of Health has a great website where you can learn more about the phases and actually what phase you qualify for. So I'm going to just click this and it will be in the chat box. But here it is. You know, you can go under vaccine phases, and it talks about the different vaccine phases in Tennessee. And here it is. So the phases are being rolled out. The first phase that started back in December when the vaccine was first came out is 1A1, and it was for healthcare workers with direct contact with patients, and then the staff and residents of long-term care facilities. And then late December, early January. So those were the people who were first getting it, and they were getting it through the hospitals they work with. And then the next phase came out, and it was outpatient healthcare workers. And of course, 1A1 included first responders, but then 1A2, more of the outpatient healthcare workers, and then the mortuary services. At the same time, those phases came out, and when A1-2 came out, they also started the phase where people who were 75 years old or older were allowed to get their vaccines. So you've got these different phases, and at the same time, the age-based eligibility is being rolled out. After 1A1, you see 1B, you have childcare staff, you know, and teachers, and anyone working in the school system, and then more first responders. 1C, 16 years and older, people who have other health issues, they would qualify. And then 2A, critical infrastructure, social services, commercial food production. 2B, critical infrastructure, transportation, public infrastructure. And then 3, congregate living, grocery workers. So you have to be in the right phase. You have to belong to a particular phase, particular group to be eligible for the vaccine. And so The state, again, it has this great website where you can actually look at your vaccine eligibility. And you can go in here and it will ask you a series of questions, and then it will tell you whether you are in the 1A1, 1A2, 1B, or whatever group you will fall into. And so that way you would know whether you were in one of those phases. But if because of your age, you're 75 older and that group has started, you can get the vaccine. So different phases are being rolled at the same time as age-based eligibility. And so most counties in Tennessee they've done phase 1A1, they're on 1A2, and 75-year-old and older. There are a few counties that are already on 1B phase. So again, the state's website has a link, has a page where you can actually see where your county phase, what your county's phase is at. So here there's a map, and you can literally, put in the search box, put your county name, or you can literally press the county and it'll tell you. So Davidson County is 1A1, 1A2, and those who are 75 and older. There are currently vaccines available, and this is the phone number you can call to make an appointment. Shelby County, again, they're in 1A1, 1A2, 75 and older, and they have vaccines, and here's a number you can call, and I think there are a lot, the same thing, Rutherford County. Rutherford County, actually, when you press request an appointment, it will take you directly to a sign up. And you can click and you can sign up for an appointment. And right now, yeah, there's only a wait list. So if you're not in the phase that the present county is, that your county is in at the present, they won't let you sign up. So say you don't fit in the phase 1A1 at 1A2, you're 65 years old, it won't let you sign up, it won't let you be on the wait list. Davidson County is actually, let's see, Davidson County, see, I don't see my, okay, I have just lost my cursor. But so Davidson County, safenashville.org, that website has, you press that and they have their own sign up page for those who are 75 years and older, and they get their vaccines from the health department. So most counties are giving out vaccines from the health department, but also there are some hospitals that are giving it out to their patients. Shelby County, they too have a sign-up genus, and I don't know why my cursor has is lost on me. I can't click it. Let's see. I am just trying to get out of it. Okay. Let me share it again. I'm sorry. Okay, there you go. So this is the Davidson County. You click here, and you can set up your appointment. And then in Shelby County, they do have a sign-up genus, and you can set up your appointment. Again, they are also on wait list only. So you can go ahead and put your name in if your phase is there. Also, the AMAC website, which I'll give you the link later at amactn.org. We have links to all the sign up pages for the major counties. So go ahead. And then, let's see. Also, and as I said, like if you work for a company, it most likely that the company will tell you when you are eligible for a vaccine and tell you where to make that appointment. So and as I mentioned before, some of the large medical centers are also vaccinating their own patients. I know Vanderbilt University will be contacting their patients to be vaccinated when they're eligible. Also, Meharry Medical Center is another hospital that is giving out vaccines. So the question is, why aren't more people being vaccinated? I hear that a lot, like, you know, if you're 75 and older and now you can be vaccinated, why am I sitting on a wait list? In Davidson County, all the appointments for 75 and older for the month of January are taken, and anybody else want to be vaccinated, they have to sit on a wait list. So supply and distribution has been a problem, and some counties have actually run out of their vaccine supply. So in the US already, 31 million vaccines have been distributed, but only 12 million have been given. And vaccines mostly are going through the county health departments, but in some places across the country, vaccines have already started, but it will start in Tennessee also, being distributed through major pharmacy chains like Walgreens, CVS, and Kroger's. Again, you still have to fall in the right phase. You have to still be eligible for vaccine to get it. And then President-elect Biden has a vaccination plan, 100 million vaccines in 100 days. So his plan is to produce more vaccines by enacting the Defense Production Act, and then create more vaccination sites. So it wouldn't be just the health department doing it, but the federal government would actually opening more vaccination sites. And that's important because, you know, at the end of the day, health department has limited resources and how many people they can actually vaccinate. So having more sites is important. And then also opening more phases of those who are eligible to be vaccinated sooner. So right now, many states are on 75 and older, but kind of encouraging people to go ahead and go to the 65 and older, even though the group that is 75 and older have not been vaccinated en masse. So that's some of the information. Again, if you visit AMAC's website at amactn.org, you can get all the information you need about the vaccine. So we go into resource, we have a page on the vaccines. And so we will post this, webinar there. And then we have a page on resources, financial resources for the community, and then just health and safety guide. And this actually has things in different languages. And also, where to get tested. So a lot of useful information on the vaccine. There are also videos that are in it with Arabic subtitles to share. So with that, I will stop there and I will let Sheikh Osama take it from here. He's a resident scholar of the Islamic Center of Nashville, and he is a member of the Fiqh Council of North America.
Well, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Mulana Rasulillah. First, may Allah reward the leadership of AMAC and the position that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with in Middle Tennessee with the effort of Dr. Abu Halima and his team and Dr. Imad from Memphis. Also, I am delighted that this is the first event that Imam Ala is joining us within Middle Tennessee family. We are delighted to have him with us, and unfortunately, he is joining us when speaking about the vaccine, part of a solution. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him and his family. The Fiqh Council of North America released a statement. You can find it in the website And some people ask, why did the Fiqh Council had to work in this fatwa, although we did not really release any fatwa about any vaccination before? And the answer for this is very simple, because of the many rumors around this vaccine and the level of doubt within the community, and the number of questions that the council received about the vaccination. When trying to understand the Sharia position toward anything, it's a very simple question that we ask. Is this activity, vaccine or any others, been acceptable within the Sharia or not? The way to find out is to go very much to the source of the Sharia, to go to the Quran and the Sunnah and the theme of the principle and the general guidelines within Islam. Islam as a religion, one of its main objective is really to care about the human life. Caring about the human life is one of the major objectives. This is why Islam put forward certain conditions and the dietary when it comes to what kind of food, what kind of drink. And Islam does not really forbid to make our life miserable, but rather forbid certain food and certain drink because of the level of care Islam really gives toward not only the life but the quality of the human life. When asking the scholars about medicine in general, they always bring it to our attention hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tadawu ibadallah. When the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam encourage people to take medicine, there is a cure for each illness, he said, and therefore medicine in general comes under the category of either lawful or very much recommended. When it comes to the vaccination and this vaccination in particular, I am not aware of any religious council worldwide really reject the vaccination. I'm not aware of any major fiqh council saying, you know what, to anyone, don't take it. Actually, it's the opposite. Most of them and I tried to prepare for today, I tried to find out about the المجلس الفقهي الأوروبي للبحوث والإفتاء, the European Council for Fatwa and Research, and I am aware of the Fiqh Council position, AMJ's position, and the others, and it seems like all of them did not say to the people, take it. Actually, they encourage everyone to take it because of a few reasons. Because without the majority of the people taking the vaccine, we will not achieve what we hope for, which is very much a good level of immunity and going back to normal life. Since in Islam has the stand that la darara wa la dirar, we are not allowed to harm ourselves or to harm others. We must not either be a reason for harm toward anything around us. This is why this vaccination is critical. And this is why the Fiqh Council did not say only that it's lawful for people, it's acceptable for people to take the vaccine. Actually, the Fiqh Council went as far as saying we recommend, and even more. Why? Because all of the studies from the expert who's in the area of vaccine, all of the studies lead the Muslims, the scholars worldwide, at least in Majalis al-Fiqhiyya, to be quite comfortable with this vaccine. This is why the position of the Fiqh Council is for everyone to take it, and to take care of yourself and to take care of the people around you. Because when taking this vaccine, it is not only the brother or the sister choose to take care of himself, but actually it's part of us doing good toward the entire community. Without this collective effort, we will not be able to go to the normal life again. This is why it was a unanimous decision within the Fiqh Council. Not even a single member of the Fiqh Council rejected the statement. Actually, some of them were trying to even go more aggressive because of the many rumors around the vaccine, from you know what, it has some pork in it, to some people saying, you know what, it will change our future, and all of this. The Islamic position is always lean to respect and be mindful of the experts. The expert is in this area is the people being specialized in vaccinations, and we intend, Islamically speaking, to be mindful and respect the direction of the country, And fortunately, this vaccine has been available now. And we hope that everyone will take this vaccine to take care of him or herself and to take care of the people around him. To prevent different kind of illness. It's actually a practice happened in the early days of Islam. In the early days of Islam, when Islam asked for quarantine, and then when Muslims dealt with certain kind of health crisis, and Rasul interfere, and the leader in the Umayyad time in particular had their famous ruling to make everyone safe. Keep in mind that keeping yourself healthy is not really an optional. It's a mandatory practice each Muslim should do. And when we say to people, you cannot really kill yourself, it's forbidding in our religion to commit any suicide. It should be understandable as well that taking care of oneself and for the member of the community should be the desire of all of us. I spoke with some people trying to be an advocate for vaccination, and some of them said, I'm not into vaccine. I don't take vaccine even in the flu season. Well, this is different because as our expert here said to us, and I'm sure they will mention this again, we will not be able to achieve what we all have in mind without 80% of the people taking the vaccine. It has to be a collective effort within the community. You can go to the Fiqh Council website. We have a detailed statement there. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us all healthy. May Allah watch over our community. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watch over the human family. May Allah bless and reward the scientific community, the medical community, and the many people caring for all of us. Allahumma ameen. Jazakumullahu khair.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair. So now we'll go ahead to questions. And I received a few questions before we started the webinar. So one of the questions, and I think this is for Dr. Omer, is can I take Tylenol to ease my sore arm after taking the vaccine? And also I've heard, had the question asked that should I take an antihistamine or like a Zyrtec before the vaccine to prevent allergic reactions?
Those are both excellent questions. So generally, if you are having symptoms, it is fine to take medications like Tylenol, and if it's safe for you to take medicines like ibuprofen, etc., those can be taken as well. Generally, it is probably best theoretically not to take antihistamines or particularly medicines like Motrin and ibuprofen before you get the vaccine, because theoretically it might decrease your immune response, and that's the whole reason you're getting the vaccine. But if you have symptoms and you need to, alleviate them, you certainly can take those kind of medications. There are going to be some people who get a recommendation from their doctor to do so. If they've had minor allergies, not major allergies like we talked about, but minor allergies, they might want to take an antihistamine. But there's no reason not to take a Tylenol if you have a sore arm.
And are there any categories of people who should not be taking the vaccine?
So the product insert, the package insert for these vaccines don't really give any contraindications unless you are allergic to some component of the vaccine. So the question comes up, what about pregnancy? Should pregnant women take the vaccine or not? Well, pregnant women were not specifically studied in the trials, but the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology and the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine has said that if you have another reason to get the vaccine, if you're in a group that has been recommended to get the vaccine and you're pregnant, then it is reasonable for you to do so after discussing it with your doctor. And similarly, if you're breastfeeding, the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine has said that they expect that it would be fine to do so. So you should go to those websites for the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology and see their statement about COVID vaccines and also the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine. But no, there are no other specific groups that are recommended to not get the vaccine.
So,
if I may
yeah.
make a comment about this too, as Brother Ahmad was saying, in fact, so in the both studies for the Pfizer and Moderna, they were not studying enrolling pregnant women in the studies for the vaccine, but some of the participants, some of the ladies were in the studies, got pregnant during the study, and they did not find that they have any problem about it. And one of the very important questions that Brother Ahmad was saying, that what happened if I took the first dose of the vaccine and then I found out that I'm pregnant before the second dose of the vaccine? Shall I go ahead and take the second dose of the vaccine? And as far as I know, and the recommendations we have also, and Brother Ahmad can correct me if I'm wrong, there is no contraindication to take the second dose of the vaccine since you had the first dose of the vaccine already done.
So I think, Dr. Omer, your presentation was great. So somebody requested to have, if we could have the slides for those presentation, if we can share that out. I can't hear you.
I'm happy to email those slides.
Okay, thank you. And then once somebody is vaccinated, can they still spread the COVID vaccine to somebody?
So that's a great question, and you would think that we would know the answer to that question, but we don't actually have the final answer to that. So that question was not specifically looked at for the Pfizer vaccine. For the Moderna vaccine, we do have some information for that, and it does look like after one shot that there was less incidence of asymptomatic infection. So, we do know that people can transmit the virus asymptomatically. It's not as common, but they can. So the answer to that question is we don't know. Now, the truth is that for most illnesses that are vaccine preventable, once you are vaccinated successfully, it becomes much less likely that you're going to transmit it, but we don't have that information yet.
And how long after you get the second dose of either vaccine are you safe? Somebody asked, they have asthma and it's hard to wear a mask, and they were just kind of, they're going to get their vaccine and hoping they can go without a mask afterwards. How long do you get full immunity?
Yeah, so generally speaking, and I just want to reiterate that, even after you're vaccinated, it's probably still a good idea to wear masks and to socially distance and do those things. As we talked about before, the incidence in the community is huge. And so we want to be careful. I'm just going to deviate from your question for 1 second. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get back to that. But I was asked today when I was rounding in the ICU, some of the nurses said, "Hey, Dr. Omer, we got vaccinated. Can we all go out to dinner now?" And I said, well, probably not. You're going to go to a restaurant where there's a lot of people that haven't been vaccinated, right? So it's 95% effective once you achieve that, but you're going to be out in the community. And we don't have the answer to that question you asked me first. So maybe not. But if all those nurses got together that have been vaccinated and none of their family was there that wasn't vaccinated, then yes, it would be fine. Then they could have dinner together. Right? Because they're in a community where more than, all of them virtually will be, protected. So generally, you want to continue to wear your masks. However, your question was, when do we expect immunity? And then so if you look at the studies, after the second dose, really after about day 11, we see that there was protection. When do they get full immunity? We don't know the answer to that. It's probably about 3 weeks. So maybe 3 weeks after the second dose.
If I may say something, actually, Sister Sabina and Brother Ahmad actually will also chip in with this. I think one of the most important questions that people did not ask, but they're hovering around it and they are not going into the same question. What does that 95% effective Pfizer or 97% Moderna vaccine means. Does that mean that we are 95%, I'm not going to go on to get the virus? And this is what's different about this vaccine, probably more than the other, previous vaccines. 95% effective for this virus does not mean that, for this vaccine, doesn't mean that you're not going to get the virus. You might still get the virus, but chances of you having bad symptoms and the bad disease of the virus are very low. That's the efficacy of 95%. I would say 95% of the people that took the vaccine might not have the bad symptoms of, or your chance is 95% chance that you will not have the bad symptoms of the COVID-19 if you get the vaccine. That doesn't mean that you're not going to contract it. And that's why we really want to educate our people more and more about the idea that, like Brother Omer was saying, that you get the vaccine, you still need to take precautions. Still you wear the mask and watch, social distance. I know that it happened to me, and I'm sure for Brother Imad too, that mentally you are a little bit less stressed out after taking the vaccine than we were before. And we get exposed to patients with COVID-19 a lot, and we take care of patients with COVID-19 a lot. The mental strain was actually much better. That's my personal experience. But I did not drop my precautions since I took the vaccine, the 2 doses. And it's been more than a week for my second dose. I will continue to take my precautions. I will continue to wear my mask. And I will continue to wash my hands with hand sanitizers and keep social distance till we get to the point that we have the majority of the big sector of our community got vaccinated. We will be more relaxed about the precautions at that point.
That's an excellent point. Just to build on that, you're not only protecting yourself, but you're protecting those around you. So if you have others in your household, for instance, that haven't had their turn for the vaccine, you don't want to take a chance that you could give it to them. And so in the studies, the patients that received vaccine that then developed COVID-19, none of them had serious disease. So that's an important point, that in the group that didn't get the vaccine, there were many people who were severely ill, and there were even some deaths, but not in the vaccine group. So even people that got it got less severe disease. So that is an important point, that it may be possible still to get it, but we hope that it's going to protect you from having severe complications of the disease.
Thank you. And I asked this question before, but in a different way, because somebody asked specifically if they had high blood pressure, should they be taking the vaccine? And somebody asked if they had asthma, should they be taking the vaccine? So quick answer.
Yes.
Yes.
For both of those, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
And let me answer that question too. I have high blood pressure, and I take medications for that.
So somebody emailed me that they had the COVID vaccine recently, but they haven't had a flu shot yet. So how long do they have to wait before getting a flu shot? Or if you just had the flu shot, do you have to wait before getting a COVID vaccine?
So both are generally true. So the recommendation is to wait. If you haven't had the flu vaccine right now, I would say that it's probably less important. If you're able to get the COVID vaccine, you want to go ahead and get that first. Flu activity is the lowest we've seen in many, many, many years. Part of that is because of social distancing and, shutdowns and lockdowns, et cetera. So we haven't seen that. So it would be better to get it later. And you want to get it after your, second dose of vaccine, and you ought to time it that it's at least 2 weeks out, but and the same for if you were doing it before, if you felt like you needed to. Some people have to get the flu vaccine for their job. They're required to do so, particularly healthcare workers. And so your institution should have recommendations for you and policies about what you need to do. And so that's come up here, that people actually were required to get it for their job.
There was another question. So this is about the new strain of coronavirus. And so with that out there, and at the same time, we're vaccinating more people, do you think by March that the number of cases will actually go down? When do we expect to see a decrease in the number of new cases?
Well, that's anybody's guess. I think we're all praying, inshallah, that, the vaccine will roll out, will happen. But honestly, we're not going to have substantial number of people vaccinated for some time. And if the new administration is able to get 100 million doses out, well, great. That will help us fight this. But as I said before, the virus is raging out there. And so the vaccine is only one tool that we have to get it better. So it's anybody's guess. And, the thing that I fear is that people will say, oh, now we have one, now we have two, now we have 4 vaccines. We can go out and do whatever we want. We can have our weddings and we can get together and do these things. And many of the people that come to those will not have been vaccinated and will continue to see the problem prolonged. So I don't know when we will see this go down. Inshallah, it will, as more and more people get vaccinated, we will see a less impact. But I think that realistically, it seems that, we're going to be, our lives are going to be affected into the summer.
And just looking at the state's website, when they expect to be vaccinating different groups, it could be late into the summer for some of the younger groups who don't have other health issues. So I think, it can take a while. Somebody is asking that they're going to be visiting the UAE next month. Should they get vaccinated before if they have access to it?
I think the question was that can they get the vaccine while they are there if they have access to it?
I think, so one point to make is that if you're going to get vaccinated, you want to go ahead and get the same vaccine, right? So the thing that you wouldn't want to do is get the Pfizer vaccine here and then go there and you have access to a different vaccine. You want to get if it's a 2-dose vaccine, you want 2 doses of the same vaccine. So you just need to make sure of that. I would say anywhere you have access to the vaccine, you should take advantage of that. There's not one of these is not preferred over the other. The Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine should be both, essentially the same.
Sister Sabina,
yes.
I was looking at that question. If I'm going to share my screen to, as Brother Ahmad was saying, just explain that to patients. So when you get vaccinated here, you get this very famous card, which I'm sure you've been seeing this on Facebook, and everybody getting the vaccine. The importance of this card, not just at the documentation that you got vaccinated, the importance of this card to know which vaccine you got. So this is my card, and it says that I got the Pfizer vaccine, the first dose, and then I got the second dose 21 days later, which was the Pfizer vaccine too. So the problem, if you go to the Emirates or go to Kuwait, I don't know if they are going to give you this documentation. I'm sure you ask for documentation, they will give it to you. But the issue is here, if you go and visit there and you're gonna get the vaccine, of course, if you have access to the vaccine, take it. But I would say take the 2 doses while you're there, because you have to get the same vaccine for both doses, like Brother Ahmad is saying. You cannot get the Moderna in 1 dose and get the Pfizer on the second dose. You have to get them both. Now, if you go take one here and you go to the other country and they're going to offer you vaccine, make sure it is the same one you got there before. Now, there will be a question in the future, but people, we're not aware of that. A lot of people, they don't know yet. What happens if we start getting the Oxford or AstraZeneca vaccine, which is different from the mRNA vaccines here we have with the Pfizer and the Moderna? Can we take the other one? The preliminary answer for that question is yes, you can. It's a different way. Do we need to? The question is still nobody knows.
So I have another question here. So what is the potential for long-term side effects of the vaccine? Since it hasn't been studied, it hasn't even been a year since they started the development of these vaccines. Some people are concerned that there might be long-term side effects.
Right. So I think you answered your own question. We don't know the long-term side effects because these vaccines have so recently been developed and so quickly. So we don't know that. We do know that the virus has been around for about a year. And so we can look at that to maybe help us figure out what kinds of things can happen. But many of the long-term sequelae of the virus are related to its direct effects on different organ systems, like the lungs, for instance, and people develop a problem called the adult respiratory distress syndrome, and they can get, sort of complications in their lungs related to that. And there are other problems that people can get, effects on the heart and effects on, et cetera. But most of those symptoms are related to the virus, not related to the immune response necessarily. There is inflammation that is associated with the virus, and that is kind of an immune response, but you wouldn't expect to see that with the vaccine. So we don't know that. For the most part, for all the vaccines we know about, the vast majority of side effects happen early, within the first 6 weeks. Fortunately, long-term side effects of vaccines are rare, but time is going to tell us. Nobody knows the answer to that question. Obviously, there's no expectation of that. If there were, then we would be working on a different vaccine. We would have not approved these vaccines if we were fearful that these were going to, necessarily result in long-term side effects. You had another question earlier, and I skipped it, and it was the issue of the variants and mutations. We don't know the full effect of that. We do know that these variants look like they are very rapid in their spread. So far, they do not seem to be mutations that would confer, the vaccines ineffective. There may be some issues with certain types of testing that might be affected by the variants. And it may be that certain kinds of treatments like monoclonal antibody, et cetera, might not be as effective. It's too early to know that. And so, again, the point is the more we control this virus, the less likely we are to see these mutant strains gain a foothold.
Thank you.
If
Go
I may
ahead.
build on something you mentioned, Brother Imad, and it's very important for people to know that piece of information about these vaccines, and Brother Imad actually mentioned that also in his slide. Why these vaccines are not labeled approved versus the labeled emergency use authorization, and that generates a little bit of discomfort for people. I've seen that with some of my staff in the office, for example, saying, well, this vaccine is not approved, it's an emergency use authorization. Well, you need to understand about the process of approval of a vaccine from CDC or NIH or et cetera. Because we don't know the long-term effect of the vaccine beyond 1 year now that's been used for trials, that's why they don't label it approved till probably 2 or 3 years when they see the full long-term effect at that point. But that doesn't mean, as Brother Imad also said in his slide, that doesn't mean that this vaccine was developed fast in an inappropriate way or being authorized for emergency use authorization, that somebody cut corners to get the approval done. That's absolutely not. It was approved in a safe and effective way, and it was approved on the real process for approval or for releasing it to be used as an emergency use authorization. Some people were asking about the long-term sequelae effect, neurological symptoms, and that was mentioned in the slides also of Brother Imad about the Bell's palsy. The reality of it that the people that develop Bell's palsy in the studies, there's the same incident of Bell's palsy in the general population. So it's not directly related to the vaccine or anything.
So I think that's all our questions, and there are some more questions, but I believe Dr. Omer's presentation covered those questions. And so this webinar will be on AMAC's Facebook page. And for those who are on our Zoom call, we will also share with you the final webinar. There was one last question, and I guess it was for me, or concern that somebody had signed up for a vaccine in Williamson County, but was put on the wait list. And that's happening across the state because people are so eager to get the vaccine that a lot of places you end up having to be on a wait list. So it's better to put your name on the wait list because the state just doesn't know what their supplies are like. And if the new president's sworn in and he has a new plan and gets more vaccines out, you want your name already there and to get a notification that you have an appointment. But everything is appointment based. So it's not like you can just show up at the health department and get your vaccine. So it's a little bit deceptive because in the news, you're seeing news reports from other states where some of them have it in that way. So, but in Tennessee, you need an appointment. And again, we'll share out, the Tennessee's website on when and where you can get the vaccine, what phase your county is in, whether you qualify for one. Any closing thoughts, Dr. Abu Halima, Dr. Omer?
Dr. Omer?
No, I just want to say thank you for putting together this program, and Jazakallah khair. And stay safe, Dr. Abu Halima. Inshallah, we'll talk again.
Inshallah, I cannot thank Dr. Omer enough for joining us with his wonderful expertise, obviously, and I cannot thank Sister Sabina, Ramziya, Sheikh Osama, and Sheikh Rab for coming, and everybody for showing up. I just want to add two small points. If you ever, because we're talking about Middle Tennessee, our home 3 counties here, if you ever been to Vanderbilt as a patient, I want you to sign up for something called My Health at Vanderbilt app, or you can download the app, because if you signed up for that app, Vanderbilt, and you've been a Vanderbilt patient, even if you were seen in a Vanderbilt urgent care before, so you have a chart in Vanderbilt, sign up for that, because Vanderbilt is reaching out to their patients according to their phases, like Sister Sabina is saying, and they will contact you. If you're on a phase, they will tell you, we're vaccinating people, you are in the phase, come over, schedule your appointment and get the vaccine. So it is very important. Also, I'm going to share something here with, I sent it to Sister Sabina, and she can also share it with everybody. This is a link. I'm sure that the minute we finish, you're going to have more questions. So this is a link from Vanderbilt that they have close to 120 questions about the vaccine and answer about them. If you have any questions, it's for the public. Again, Brother Ahmad, seriously and sincerely, I'd like to thank you, brother, for enlightening us all, myself included, about this disease. May Allah protect us all from, and inshallah, we'll talk again and we'll meet again, inshallah, in person when this is over, bi'adillah.
Jazakallah khair to both of you, Dr. Abu Halima and Dr. Omer, for being a part of this important discussion for our community. For all those who joined us, thank you for joining us. And share this webinar with your community members, because a lot of people have a lot of questions. And we want to end it with Sheikh Osama giving a reminder on our Islamic duties, and close it off with a dua.
Well, may Allah reward everyone. One of the beauty of our religion is its effectiveness toward not only us in a positive way, but everyone even around us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward everyone for taking care of him or herself. May Allah reward those taking care of many of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you for your efforts. May Allah watch over our human family. نسأل الله الشفاء لكل مريض والعافية. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. جزاكم الله خيرا.
And again, if anyone has questions, email me, Sabina, at pr@amactn.com, or visit our website at amactn.org for information of the vaccine. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.